Welcome, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do, if you haven't already, is to silence your phone so we don't have a little ring in the middle of the service. I'm Suze Shaner, and I've been coming to some permutation of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation for 22 years. I've been a member as of literally this month, May, for 21 years. And this congregation has been a source of great inspiration and support, and also a vehicle for me to grow and stretch and give back. I've contributed in diverse ways, from teaching RE for over 15 years, vice president of the board of directors, financial steward. I even took the course Build Your Own Theology, Dorothy Day. I've delivered over a dozen sermons and contributed to the Artist's Day. So I just say this by way of, there's so many ways to get involved depending upon what your interests are. And the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury has been gathering for over 200 years, actually as of December 9th, 2022, but who's counting? And as we work to build a more just world, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building is on the traditional land of the Paugussett people. And I'm so glad that you're able to join us this morning, because you are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or 1,000th Sunday in our midst, in person or online, we are stronger because of you and because you are with us. If you're new to our community and joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourself and where you're coming from and connecting from in the chat as you're comfortable. And I assume everyone knows Zoom by now, but it's the chats at the bottom of your screen. At the conclusion of today's service, you'll have a chance to participate in a breakout group for individual connection and deeper check-ins. And if you're new here in person, please fill out a visitor card at the table near the exit before you leave today. We are one people of many faiths, beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome. So again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. That's really a mouthful every time I say that. I prefer to say UUCD. Okay. And today we welcome David Roth, our service presenter. I've lost count. I think this is maybe our third or fourth time having David. Again, who's counting? David's songs have found their way to Carnegie Hall, the United Nations, several Chicken Soup for the Souls, the Kennedy Center, NASA's Space Shuttle, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Kingston Trio CDs. Quite a bio there, David. And he's been performing for over 3 decades and is originally a Chicago native, but now resides on the Cape. And the first time I saw David was in 2008 at an energy psychology conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I was immediately struck by his engaging and compelling way by which he shapes narrative to tell stories about social justice, the condition of living and being human, and stories that really connect us and bring us back to our heart. So welcome, David.
Good morning. We're going to take a moment to look around, see who's around you, and greet one another with a special emphasis on folks you may not know as well. Behind you, beside you, and online.
Oh my God.
I have a feeling this could go on for a while, but now I would like you to join us in our hymn of welcome, which will be accompanied on the screen, but it's also in your teal hymnal, in the teal hymnal number 1008. For those who like to follow along in the hymnal, when our heart is in a holy place. And rise as you are able and sing heartily. When heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. A little sleepy. Please join me in the words of our chalice lighting affirmation. I hope you can hear me online. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life.
I think it's working now. No? It's green. It's working for those online. Oh, are you hearing it?
It's working.
It is so good to be together. Let's say our words for our children's affirmation. They're on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. And I will invite some helpers up for my story this morning. This story I'm going to tell orally, but I want you to know that it's from a lovely picture book called Zen Shorts, which is a series of a few short stories, and I highly recommend it. It's by John J. Muth. My Uncle Rye lived alone in a small house up in the hills. He didn't own many things. He lived a simple life. One evening, he discovered that he had a visitor. A robber had broken into his house and was rummaging through my uncle's few belongings. The robber didn't notice Uncle Rye, and when my uncle said hello, the robber was so startled that he almost fell down. My uncle smiled at the robber and shook his hand. Welcome, welcome. How nice of you to visit. The robber opened his mouth to speak, but he couldn't think of anything to say. Because Uncle Rye never lets anyone leave empty-handed, he looked around the tiny hut for a gift to give the robber. But there was nothing to give. The robber began to back toward the door. He wanted to leave. At last, Uncle Rye knew what to do. He took off his only robe, which was old and tattered. Here, he said, please, take this. The robber thought my uncle was too wild for anyone to guess what he might do next. The robber took the robe, dashed out the door, and escaped into the night. My uncle sat and looked at the moon, its silvery light spilling over the mountains, making all things quietly beautiful. Poor man, lamented my uncle. All I had to give him was my tattered robe. If only I could have given him this wonderful moon. So ends the story. Let's sing together This Little Light of Mine.
In G? All right. Okay. Ready? Here we go. Help us sing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let's add deep down in my heart while we're at it. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Test, test, test. Okay, great. So it's time for our shared milestones. I'd like to begin with those that are within our hearts that we may not be ready to share aloud, lifting us up, weighing us down. If you have something like that, we all do, but to come and put a stone in the bowl, now is the moment. Carl, I think we're supposed to be singing with you, aren't we? You want to start from the top and we'll sing this time?
Want to do it?
Yeah. Here we go. Let's start together. Spirit of God, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots won't be close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. It's now time for our congregational offering. If you are online or in the room and you are new to us, or this is your first or second time, let the basket go because your presence here is your gift to us. Members and friends, as the plate comes by, please give generously. Online, you can click the link or send a check to 24 Clapboard Ridge Road, Danbury 06811. And I'm supposed to say to support this congregation that we love so much, but that goes without saying.
Hey, where you been? That was a fast 3 years. Not. It's great to be back, and as my sister, a retired UU minister, reminds me, you have to come to church early on Sunday to get a seat in the back. And I'm so moved to hear about your kids. That's so beautiful. You know, a master's in drama. I feel like I've been getting that since I turned 60 without going to school. So to begin this morning, I want to reiterate the public service announcement that Sue's made. The very first thing she said when she came up here, it's in the first line of this first song as we launch into Living in Harmony. Easier sung than done. Is it too much to ask that you turn off your texting? Too much to ask, too much fuss. Will the world stop revolving if you're not connecting? How about connecting with us? Is it too much to ask that you use your turn signal to let someone know if you're turning or not? Is it too much to ask that you don't honk your horn when it's obvious the traffic has stopped? Is it too much to ask to be gracious? Is politeness a thing of the past? Is it too much to ask to be warm and kind-hearted? Is it too much to ask? I know you're just dying to sing that. That's your part. Try it. Is it too much to ask? My turn. Is it too much to ask to have safe drinking water or clean air to breathe every day? When we're taking a walk, is it too much to ask that we don't have to walk the same way? Is it too much to ask to be quiet and listen? Is it too much to ask to be heard? Watch out now. Is it too much to ask to allow an opinion that isn't the same one as yours? Is it too much to ask to be gracious? Is politeness a thing of the past? Is it too much to ask to be warm and kind-hearted? Here we go. Is it too much to ask that you sit there and listen to long-winded songwriting nerds? Is it too much to ask to have instruments only or songs without so many? Is it too much to ask when you're walking the poodle if Fifi goes poo-poo to clean up the mess? Is it too much to ask that you put on that suit tonight? Baby, I'll put on the dress. Is it too much to ask to be gracious? Is politeness a thing of the past? Is it too much to ask to be warm and kind-hearted? Is it too much to ask again? Is it too much to ask? Ask your neighbor. Is it too much to ask? Is it too much to ask? Yeah, looking around, I noticed so many things. And I noticed that not everybody sings along, and I wouldn't expect everybody to sing along because singing in public can be a fear-inducing thing. So it reminds me of two things: that fear is excitement without oxygen. And if you're nervous about someone hearing you or being within earshot of anybody hearing your voice because you think you sing in R sharp or B minus, the keys, you know, if you close your eyes, no one else can hear you. All right, so just close your eyes and all will be okay. I'm curious, is anybody hearing me for the first time this morning? Very first time. Okay, there's a few first timers. Well, welcome. I will get this out of the way because this is a fan letter that poured in 13 years ago. I know, I've only read this to very specific groups of people. Every place I've sung for the last 13 years, I've read this letter at every single appearance. It's from a 9-year-old girl who was dragged to one of my concerts by her well-intending parents, who are old friends of mine. And this was her school report, which I wasn't even aware I was being journalized that night. But here came Alana Baldwin's school report. They now live in Eugene, Oregon, and this was after a concert of mine in Washington, D.C. Her paper is entitled David Roth. David Roth is my hero. Yeah, I was surprised too. Because he writes songs, great singer, guitar player, and sang at my parents' wedding, which I did. David Roth writes funny songs and inspiring songs. The funny songs make people that are down in the dumps laugh. His inspiring songs like Yes We Can, Practice Makes Progress. Did someone say perfect? Oh dear. See, I've carefully inserted 11 mistakes into my talk this morning. so that I don't have to bear that burden of a flawless presentation. Are you willing to celebrate imperfection with me? Yes? No? I hope so, because they're there. They always are, always will be. Perfection is prison to me. His inspiring songs like Yes We Can, Practice Makes, and some others make me have confidence, courage, and encouragement. That's the word right there. I knew exactly what she meant, but she wrote encouragement, and I love this word. And when I broke it down, I realized what the definition is: to have cooge. And when I write this word on the page, I see that one interpretation of cooge is courage without the rage. Can anybody use that besides me? Time and a place. David Roth has been playing guitar and singing for over 20 years. It's over 30 now. He's tall, skinny, and has gray hair. I'm amazed that even how old he is, he can still get the high notes. I still see skepticism in some of your eyes about this whole thing, this sermon and song thing, so I can't be responsible for your reactions. David Roth sang at my parents' wedding. He sang his song, Rising in Love. I'm happy about that because it's my mom's very favorite song, of his at least. David Roth, in conclusion, is my hero because he can make anyone laugh, inspire anyone, and sang at my mom and dad's wedding, okay? So, repetition 3 times. I think that's very sweet, you know? But this is a world that needs cooge, I really believe, you know, and there's a lot of rage going around. There's a lot of, my wife and I go to Mexico a lot. And one thing I notice about the people in Mexico is that they don't take sides against each other. You know, there's a very complicated country with a lot of different social problems, and they're not choosing sides as much that I notice as some people in this country seem to be doing. So I wanted to just address some of the things that, and I want you to take this in, especially if you're hearing me for the first time, that what you're hearing this morning, it's like looking at a painting. You're hearing an artist's interpretation of how I view the world through my senses. So these are my impressions, as if you know, Dan and Susan and Nancy went to a museum and we're all looking at the same picture, a painting, they would have different interpretations of it. So I'll do my best to speak in the first person for myself today. And I don't claim to speak for anybody else. If anybody tells you there's no politics and guns, and that now is not the time to change the laws, just meet the gaze of those who've lost family or friends, and tell me how we justify the cause. It's well and good to send out loving thoughts and loving prayers, but by now these thoughts and prayers are not enough. All the good intentions and the cries to make a change must be followed up with action and rebuff. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind, and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. If politicians say do not politicize these things or get caught up in the moment or in haste, I say it's precisely what we need to speak about before another single life is wasted. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind, and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. I will not be silenced, though the silencers abound. I will not be led by those opposed to common ground. If anybody tells you there's no politics and guns, they're the ones who know that money runs the show. And as long as nothing changes, they'll be happy and content, and they'll do their best to keep the status quo. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind, and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws, change the mind, and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. And they may sound like it could have been written yesterday, 6 years ago. And that's not the last song I've written about this gun issue. I'm going to do another new one, unfortunately, a brand new one this afternoon at Music at the Ridge. But then I think of Pete Seeger, our mentor and inspiration, who co-wrote If I Had a Hammer, you know that song? You know what year that song was written and sung? 1949. And 70 plus years later, we sing it as if we still need to get this message. 7 decades, and that message is still not hitting home in some way. So I know Pete would be happy. I'll speak for Pete. He'd be happy if we didn't need to sing a song like that, for 7 decades and counting. But such as it is, all I can do is move my foot forward one step at a time. And if you're curious about my politics, religion, or spirituality, my theory is to be kind to everybody I'm in the same room with, period, end of story. The Dalai Lama was once asked what his religion was, and he replied, kindness. And I think for me, that's a good place to start. But still, every now and then I get caught up, and you won't be surprised to hear that in all the places that I've played for 30 years, not every one of them is filled with folk-friendly people who agree with everything I have to say or sing about. Pete would say the same thing. In fact, he looked for those places so that he could not, start a conflict or, push one another further into our corners, but rather open a dialogue of sorts, That is my hope too. But this next song, good follow-up to Change the Laws, has 2 words, and most of you have probably not heard this song. It's a new song of mine, written during the pandemic, but I feel fairly confident that most, if not all of you, are going to love the first 2 words of this next song. You're going to love them. You might even sing them out loud. There might be an opportunity for you to do so. I'm right. You're wrong. You're off. I'm on. This is my new theme song. I'm right. Now you're singing. All right. I'm correct. I'm sure. And you are insecure. My heart is pure. I'm right. I'm sure. Don't you bother contradicting me. You've got no leg to stand on. Where is it you come off with all these viewpoints that you land on? I'm yes. You're stop. Je suis vrai. Tu es faux. That's French. Now you know. And you know we're gonna get somewhere by being mad and vehement. A seismic shift is always made with words of disagreement. You're right. I'm wrong. Nobody's singing on that one. Thought I'd just try that on. How about a new song? No right, no wrong, no right. People come up to me after I got to get my hands on that song. All you have to remember is the first 4 words. And then, okay. So this thing about living in harmony, I think, includes an element of service, of being in service to one another, you know. And there's been a lot, especially with Facebook. Did anybody like send a lot of thoughts and prayers on social media? I used to do that quite a lot. And then I thought, I realized I'm clicking so fast onto the next thing that it was almost an afterthought, and I really wasn't getting behind it, sending these thoughts and prayers. So I think there's a third part of thoughts and prayers, and that was mentioned in the Gun song, action. I think thoughts, prayers, and action are a holy trinity of sorts to make positive, effective social change, I think. So it's all about taking action and a being of service. So maybe this next song will ring true for Simeon. I heard somebody had a hard day out there. I had a hard one too. We could count them all up and see who wins. Who do you think would have more, me or you? Feeling sorry might work, but not for long. We don't have the luxury of time. So I've got an idea, and it might help us both. And it starts with a question of mine. What can I do for you today? How can I help in some small way? It would be such a gift to me, it's true, if you let me do one little thing for you. What can I do? There's a whole lot of things that I can't make. Can't build a house or meditate. But I know there's one thing I can create. Oh, I can make some time. Though the older I get, the faster it flies. Spend it like crazy, no surprise. But when my pockets are empty and my credits declined, I'll know that at least I gave you some time. What can I do for you today? How can I help in some small way? It would be such a gift to me, it's true, if you'd let me do one little thing for you. What can I do? Such a noisy and crazy earth out there. We are neighbors in crisis everywhere. Just in case you were thinking that no one cares, someone will prove you wrong. People all over this world need love, and some won't be lucky to get enough. And that's why I'm hoping that you'll understand how we'll both get ahead if I give you a hand. What can I do for you today? How can I help in some small way? It would be such a gift to me, it's true, if you'd let me do one little thing for you. What can I do? I think it's really nice when it's kind of calmer at the end of a song, and you wonder if clapping even feels like the right thing to do. I remember I've been taking these musical tours to Ireland for 10 years, and Nancy and Jerry have been with me, and lots of other people. Lots of what? A fair amount of UUs, yes. I met my man who's become a dear friend of mine, John McDonald. He was my guide the first year in 2014. We became fast friends. So when I came back the next year, he invited me to do a little concert for 50 of his friends in his house before the tour started. And I thought, this is great. People never heard me before. And I think this is the song I opened up with. I wanted to ask everybody, what can I do for you today? What can I do for you tonight? And there was dead silence after I was done. It wasn't non-appreciation. It was sacred silence. And we walked through a doorway, and I said, that is so beautiful. I really love it when you don't clap at the end of a song. And you know what? They never clapped one more time the rest of the night. Not once, even after raucous songs like I'm Right, You're Wrong, or it wasn't written then, but like Don't Should on Me and I Won't Should on You, that old hit, the most carefully pronounced song in folk music. So they never clapped again. So before I move over to the piano to put a bow tie for the last song in this sermon of song, and we'll continue this conversation at 4 o'clock today. Hope you can join us. All different songs. I've got too many songs, not enough time, and lots to rejoice and ponder from my end. I just want to tell you briefly, since I was last here, which I see by my notes, yes, I'm a note nerd, in person was January of 2020. Right before things shut down. And the first concert I had to cancel because of the pandemic was at the Clearwater Coffee House on my birthday, the coffee house that Pete Seeger built, It was March 14th, 2020 was the first pandemic canceled gig, and about 2.5 more years after that. So my big challenge in coming out of the pandemic was to see if I could remember how to sing standing up and fully clothed, if you want to know the truth, So I went all out for you guys today. But the thing that I want to leave you with, my main drive during the pandemic was that my beautiful mother, Gloria, was living, I didn't know it, the last 2 years of her life, right during the pandemic. She's a beautiful professional big band singer from our hometown of Chicago. And I've talked about her before to some of you. And I even showed you a picture of her in her heyday. This was my mom. Back in Chicago, she sang with the big bands. In one season in the late 1940s, Gloria sang Take Me Out to the Ball Game at the 7th inning of every Chicago Cubs home game. It was like 81 times with the Lou Diamond Trio. So she did stuff like that. And this is her in plainclothes division. And, about over 2.5 years ago, she fell into the need out in Los Angeles for full-time 24/7 care. I know this is a story not unfamiliar to many of you, whether you've taken care of someone, need that in your family right now, or looking out for someone. This was my mother living in Los Angeles, wanted to stay in her home. Both her children live on the East Coast, so my sister and I worked out a plan where we would fly out every 5 weeks. I went every 5 weeks to be her 24/7 caregiver, and I mean 24/7 caregiver, as we watched her kind of decline. And we wanted to keep her in her house. And we're not people of unlimited resources, so we were doing everything we could to stretch those resources. And I don't mind telling you it was stressful, but I learned a lot about harmony and living in it. Through these two beautiful women from El Salvador, Rena and Lulu, who I found through my network of friends. I didn't know them, but they came in and they were her caregivers for all those times in between, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when my mother needed somebody, and my sister and I couldn't be there. So they grew to love my mother. They were willing to work for 2 years for less money than they could have gotten, because the need for caregivers in our baby boomer generation is greater than ever. And my impression is there aren't enough for all the care that's needed, and our social services aren't set up to really care for all of us. So I bless the day that I met these two women. I will thank them eternally, for just seeing the opportunity for harmony and doing whatever is needed to help somebody and to grow into the love and affection for the strangers that we were when the whole thing started. So my hat's off to them. I can't walk over to the piano without showing you a picture of my dad, too, for you newcomers. That's my father. He was 16 years older than my mom, Gloria, and a Russian Jewish immigrant, and was able to get in this country. He's wearing his World War II Army uniform. And this is undoubtedly a Friday night, which is the Jewish Sabbath, and he's saying a prayer over the wine with his prayer shawl on. It's a tallis. And it might have been something like this: Dear Lord, if I'm ever blessed with a son, may he be a lawyer or a doctor. Accountant, cantor, dentist, and way at the bottom, not even on the list, was folk singer. His only other child, my oldest, Deborah, became a Unitarian Universalist. And when Deborah first explained that to me, when I was learning about this, I didn't know much. And after she explained it, I said, well, let me see if I got this straight. Is this a place where you go to get your answers So thank you for your kind attention this morning. As I said, we'll pick up the conversation at 4 o'clock today. And I thank all the people helping with the service, and my dear and old friends, Nancy and Jerry, for keeping our contact going all this time. Let's face it, we have each other. What else do we have? I stand for love, stand for peace. I stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for love, I stand for peace. I stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you. You know our world is in great pain. She needs our loving care again. But there are those who fail to see what we have done and what we need. There is a cost for every act, and now there is no turning back. We burn a bridge, we bang a drum. It's time to rise, the time has come to stand for love, to stand for peace, to stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true, to stand for hope, to stand for you. And if you're thinking it's not urgent, that we've got more time to kill, if I'm not the one who will change things, then for heaven's sake, who will? So I will move, I will climb this mountain one step at a time. I won't be swayed, I will not stop until we've made it to the top, where we will stand for love and peace, stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. stand for hope. We'll stand for you. For what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope. I stand for you.
Absolutely. So, please join me in the words of extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
There's another hymn, isn't there? Come sing.
Let's go to closing.
Let's go to closing words. Okay. That's fine. Great.
You don't have to stand if you don't want to.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Made me feel right home there on Cape Cod with those seagulls at the end. You guys think of everything. Closing words today come from 7 sources. They're brief. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Aristotle. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Walt Disney. Well done is better than well said. Benjamin Franklin. Change happens by listening and then starting a dialogue with the people who are doing something you don't believe is right. Jane Goodall. Action is the antidote to despair. Joan Baez. Action speaks louder than words, but not nearly as often. Mark Twain. I see glances being exchanged. And we finish with Confucius, who said, and this is attributed to other people, past Confucius, but I believe it started with Confucius. If there's righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. If there's beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. If there's harmony in the home, there will be order in the nations. When there is order in the nations, there will be peace in the world.
Amen. Please join us for coffee. And thank you for joining us this morning, here and online. There will be opportunity for breakout rooms and to join the chat if you are online, get to know one another a little better.